Why does every girl on social media have that headband? Why does every girl on social media have that hand sanitizer? Why does every girl on social media have that voice?
You guys, I just wanted to show you this body glow that I've been obsessed with lately.
Of course, that's hyperbole. It's not every girl, but is it just me, or has social media turned womanhood into a one-size-fits-all aesthetic? This is all part of the rise of hyper-curated living, where every girl's life on social media starts looking suspiciously the same. Perfect, polished, and pink washed. The real problem isn't just about having that headband. It's about how brands exploit our identities to make girlhood synonymous with consumption. Let's talk about how brands use girlhood to keep you buying. From the moment we're old enough to shop, corporations sell us girlhood as an ideal that demands a constant performance. Soft, dainty, delicate, and most of all, marketable. All gender, after all, is a performance to some degree. But the version of femininity that's being sold today feels like a script that's being written by brands, performed by influencers, and funded by billionaire-led corporations. It feels like with every scroll on social media, the message is clear. Girlhood isn't just something that you grow out of. It's something that you need to keep buying into no matter how old you are. It's not enough to be smart or unique or ambitious. You need a neutral toned home with girly pastel aesthetic accents, a perfectly organized vanity, and the right seasonal candles to prove that you're doing femininity correctly. Early and mid 20th century advertising often infantilized women, treating adult female consumers like little girls. A 1952 Chase and Sanborn coffee ad, for example, infamously showed a husband spanking his wife for buying the wrong coffee. This ad basically said that femininity was about pleasing others and, of course, pleasing a man. It was about being soft and agreeable and, most importantly, controllable. And in the 1970s, there was also this ad from Love's Baby Soft Lotion, which showed a woman in a baby doll getup and a lollipop in a childlike disposition stating, "Because innocence is sexier than you think." While the tactics have evolved, the strategies have remained the same. Today, brands don't need overtly sexist imagery to sell us the same idea. Instead, they've repackaged it in millennial pink and pastel aesthetics, turning being a woman into a never-ending performance of soft, sanitized girlhood. Rather than telling us outright to stay in the kitchen or to be obedient, we're being encouraged to curate every aspect of our lives to fit this girlified ideal, this cutesy ideal, when even the most mundane act needs to be filmed, needs to be consumed, needs to be aesthetic, needs to be beautiful. You can't just enjoy your skincare routine, you have to film it. You can't just have breakfast, you have to plate it, filter it, and hashtag it. The pressure at this point to perform a perfect consumable girlhood is relentless. And this is not just limited to social media. The entertainment industry as a whole packages grown women as teen-like ingenues who speak in soft little baby-like voices and often play up youthful doll-like images. And this isn't to undermine their talent, but it's just to say that the industry encourages a particular aesthetic because it sells. And in fashion too, brands sell us these trappings of girlhood. Forever 21, though now waning in popularity, was a staple fashion brand for all of my fellow millennial girlies in the 2000s and the 2010s. Its very name suggests eternal youth, and its stores were filled with fast fashion trends to keep grown women dressing like teenagers. It was a cartoonish, graphic tee, crop top emporium that we couldn't get enough of. And teen-oriented brands like Brandy Melville or the Pink Line by Victoria's Secret are also ostensibly for younger girls, but they also deliberately attract women in their 20s and 30s who are trying to partake in a teenage-like aesthetic. Cute slogans and sparkles and all. By blurring the line between teen style and adult style, these brands encourage women to conflate empowerment with looking and feeling like a young girl. Like an I Like Boys tank top definitely feels like it would have been in Lizzie McGuire's wardrobe in 2001. And Brandy Melville, with their one-size-fits-small brand, has definitely sold women the idea that your smallest, teeniest, tiniest, girliest self is your best self. And today, with the rise of Ozempic, female celebrities are desiring to look as thin, tiny, girlish, and dainty as ever. And girlhood is continuing to be commodified. We're seeing a return to this desire to look tiny and small and innocent. And even products that inherently have nothing to do with gender are getting girlified makeovers. Tool manufacturers have sold pink toolkits for women, assuming we'll be less intimidated by a drill or hammer if it's bubblegum colored. And I'm not even gonna lie, they've caught my eye. I don't think that these designs are necessarily bad at all. I love a pink accent or two myself, but the underlying message is that the standard version of the product is not meant for us. That women need a separate, more childlike version of practical items. They tap into this idea of treating yourself to this cute and special item like a little girl getting a new toy. And this is common amongst advertising that's geared towards women. Advertising that's marketed on women often plays on youth, on beauty, and on cuteness. Body washes are sold to women as a way to pamper yourself with a silky rose-scented lather, whereas a body wash for men will be like XL Sport Blast in a black bottle, promising like 12-hour protection and a rugged image and strength and utility and dominance. But for us women, the bare minimum is like you have to feel cutesy and smell like a girly girl and a pretty precious princess flower. Is that what I said in my video about hygiene hauls? I think that was the quote. The function of just cleaning oneself is more emphasized in men's products versus women's products. They emphasize more so feelings than function. In 2012, Bic released Bic for Her pens, which were essentially standard ballpoint pens in pastel pinks and purples, packaged just for her. But why does something so gender neutral as pens need to be girlified? And women also pay more for these products too. You may or may not be familiar with what's known as the pink tax, where women's versions of products cost more than men's versions, despite them having nearly identical functionality. The only real difference is the branding and the packaging. A study by the New York City Consumer Affairs Department found that women pay more than men for equivalent products 42% of the time, often for things like personal care items, where the women's item is just a pink-colored twin of the men's. Back in 2022, there was this viral story about how in a Walmart in Florida, a 3-pack of disposable razors with pink and white packaging, marketed as a women's sensitive razor, was priced at $5.68, with a 3-pack of identical razors in black and green packaging for men only costing $3.48. Both of them had the same blade count, and yet the For Her version was significantly more expensive. The only notable difference was the girly color scheme. And this is how brands trap women into a cycle of spending more for pink pastel razors, aesthetic body wash collections, and girlified serums and potions, buying into the latest trends that are pushed by influencers and brands. Because we have this belief that girlhood must be preserved at all times and at all costs, and that the number one marker of girlhood is consumption. And a world where girlhood is synonymous with consumption begs the question, who can afford to keep up? At a time where wages are stagnating and it's disproportionately affecting Black and Indigenous women who are consistently earning less, girlhood is exclusionary. Feminism demands liberation from the systems that oppress women, yet this consumerist version of girlhood sold to us is just another cage, albeit one lined with pastel packaging. And this is what prevents them from tapping into any other identity outside of consumer. When your whole identity is wrapped up into being a consumer, you're that much easier to control. If everything in your life is tied to what you buy, you'll never learn to embrace your own unique identity. You'll never learn to think for yourself, to live your life on your own terms, to have restraint, to have self-determination. Instead, you're always going to be controlled by the corporations that are pulling your strings. And that's how you become a puppet, always ready to defend them at all costs, even when you don't even have much money yourself. You become a capitalist with no capital. How dreadful. But you'll always find yourself defending that rich influencer, that rich celebrity or billionaire because they have the life that you aspire to have. Their conspicuous consumption is a blueprint for who you want to be. So when someone critiques them, it feels like a direct attack on your identity, because your identity is so wrapped up in the things that they promote that questioning them feels like questioning yourself. And this obsession with consumption isn't just limited to standing celebrities or standing influencers. It seeps into your everyday life, into how you show up as a worker, into how you show up as a human being. You can't carry out a successful boycott of fast fashion because your entire personality revolves around being an it girl, or that girl, or a clean girl, or just a girl. You won't donate to mutual aid because you wouldn't want to take away from your shopping budget that month. You won't ever speak out against social injustices because it won't look good on your social media timeline. It's going to throw off the aesthetic, throw off the vibes. You won't engage in community organizing because it conflicts with your self-care Sunday reset routine. Your entire identity revolves around the things that you buy. Philosopher Antonio Gramsci's theory of cultural hegemony stated that if you can convince people a narrow set of ideals represents the only way to live, they'll self-police anyone who challenges it. And this is why critiques of hyperconsumerism are often met with backlash, often met with "you're killing vibes," or "you're just a hater," or "you're just jealous," or "you're ruining the fun," you name it. The system has trained us to defend it, even to our own detriment. And this is why I think that making consumption your entire identity neutralizes you. It makes you less likely to demand change because you're too busy defending the system that keeps you consuming. You're not going to be able to have meaningful conversations about hoarding of wealth because you'll derail the conversation with, "Why are you hating on rich people?" Consumption as an identity marker keeps you spending and keeps you compliant. You'll get defensive because consumerism is your drug, and anyone who challenges it feels like they're taking your fix away. Brands that weaponize girlhood as a marketing tactic, yeah, of course, they're trying to sell you products, but more importantly, they're selling you a way of life that keeps you from questioning the system itself. They convince you that the goal isn't dismantling capitalism, it's to join the ranks of the people who benefit from it. They make it so that that young girl in the Bronx or the South Side of Chicago who's at home watching Sephora hauls, she doesn't just want to escape her circumstances, she wants to become the capitalist. She wants to live the life of the influencer that she follows. And so she's oblivious to the fact that these influencers are the face of the very system that keeps her down. And that's the real danger. When you make consumption your entire identity, it makes you defend the very systems that exploit you. It stops you from seeing who your real enemies are. And so brands have turned girlhood into a commodity, something that you can buy in an eyeshadow palette, a serum, or in a haul. But the girlhood that they sell is shallow and it's sanitized. It's stripped of any real complexity or power. It's a girlhood that's obsessed with being soft, being beautiful, being agreeable, never angry, never revolutionary. And trust me, there's plenty to be angry and revolutionary about. Meanwhile, the plight of the majority of working women, those on factory floors, in service jobs, in unpaid care roles, is sidelined. The working class woman consumer is fed the same diet. Buy this to feel empowered, which quite frankly does nothing to materially improve her situation. It actually pacifies dissent. If a woman feels pride showing up to work in her Zara blazer, in her Skims shapewear, with her Dior purse and her Chanel perfume, she's already an it girl. She already has it all. Why would she be invested in collective liberation? Why would she want to unionize her workplace? Why would she fight for paid maternity leave? She already has the purchasing power to be an it girl. These brands that sell commodity feminism, that are mostly owned by male billionaires, by the way, for them, feminism is just a brand identity. It's completely bereft of any calls for systemic change. And I discussed this in my Sephora hauls and luxury brands are a scam video, so I won't belabor the point too much. But the same brands who use girlhood, who use femwashing as a marketing ploy to get you to buy, are the same brands that are exploiting women in the global south, that are exploiting women right here in your backyard, all across the country. And yet they use diversity and inclusion as a selling point, as a marketing tactic to capitalize off of the market share of women of color. Pretty Little Thing, a brand that's infamous for such exploitation, just launched a rebrand where they proclaim that their new brand is for, quote, every kind of it girl. And yet plus size women have to pay up to 10% more for the same exact styles. Thanks to Twin Brett on Instagram for pointing this out. You should follow him. He's great. Good On You reported in 2023 that, quote, little of Pretty Little Thing's supply chain is certified by labor standards, which ensure worker health and safety or other labor rights. and that Pretty Little Thing, quote, does not appear to pay a living wage. A 2020 undercover investigation of Pretty Little Thing's parent company, Boohoo, revealed that Boohoo factory workers in the Leicester area of the UK were working for £3.50 an hour, which was less than half of the national minimum wage. A factory worker told an undercover reporter, quote, "These mother effers know how to exploit people like us. They make profits like hell and pay us in peanuts." And this isn't, of course, unique to Boohoo. Like I said, I discussed in depth in previous videos how this very same brands who use girl boss feminism as a marketing ploy are exploiting their mostly female workforce, allegedly. Here's Zara, another fast fashion femme-washing darling's founder, chilling on his new $300 million super yacht. Meanwhile, Zara's mostly female garment and shop workers continue to allege poor working conditions and abysmal wages. Bangladeshi garment workers like Aisha Begum told NPR that she works tirelessly sewing 90 jeans per hour for Zara that sell for around $50 each, while she earns just $134 a month. And these brands get away with it because they're not just selling products, they're selling feelings. These brands sell women feelings that they could only feel when they were in fact little girls. Feelings of innocence and of softness. The idea that to be a woman is to live a soft life, one of luxury, one of comfort, one that's full of self-care routines. The concept of a soft life, which is a lifestyle centered around leisure and luxury and avoiding struggle, is marketed as the ultimate expression of girlhood. They'll sell you the aesthetic package of girlhood because real activism isn't profitable and it isn't cute. There is never any mention of the women who are experiencing the brunt of feminist issues, the women who are living in the global south under the boot of Western imperialism and capitalism. Instead, they sell you femininity and girl power through expensive journals, aesthetic tumbler cups and candles and clothes, etc. All of the things that play on the feminine desire to be soft, to be delicate, to be pampered. It's not hard to understand why these ideals resonate with so many women. Living under capitalism is exhausting, to say the least. And the appeal of escaping into the curated softness of girlhood is understandable, is justifiable. It's a world where hardship is smoothed over with pastel packaging and scented candles. When your entire adult life is defined by working long hours and a loss of community, the fantasy of being just a girl, dainty, carefree, shielded from the brutalities of the real world, it feels like a way out. And that's the real genius of how brands use girlhood to sell us more. The soft life trends, the trad wife, the endless remixes of girlhood aesthetics are all different ways, I think, of desiring the same thing. The desire to opt out of the grueling demands of capitalist labor systems and grueling wage work. The desire for rest and for leisure is legitimate. I can't say that enough. Who doesn't want a life without endless emails, endless commutes, endless rent payments? The rent is too damn high. The bills are too damn high. But these trends never ask why modern society is so devoid of rest and leisure. There's never a structural analysis about how our culture robs us of the ability to rest and turns time into a commodity and alienates us. Instead, the only answer is to buy more skincare, more loungewear, more candles, to soften the harsh realities. The soft girlified life is not about rejecting capitalism. It's about finding a way to benefit from it. Today, I see so many young girls be like, I don't dream of labor, I don't want to work, which again, legitimate. Your ability to produce, your ability to labor should not be the center of your life. But their disdain for capitalism only goes so far as them not wanting to be exploited. They have no problem being a recipient of someone else's exploitation or doing the exploiting themselves. For your soft life to be possible, someone else had to have a very hard life, which is not necessarily your fault, but the fact that we're not questioning it, the fact that we're not talking about it, the fact that our only dreams are to aspire to exclusivity, to go from being enslaved on the plantation to being the plantation owner is dangerous. There is nothing wrong with liking feminine things. I like feminine things myself. Of course I do. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, let me be clear. When you wrap your entire identity and self-worth up in this over-the-top performance of girlhood, in this over-the-top girlhood brain rot persona, You're allowing corporations to hijack your mind, body, and soul. And this is what prevents you from questioning why leisure is a luxury in the first place. It keeps you from coming to the conclusion that this version of girlhood is not soft at all. It's actually ruthless, because it's built on the backs of unpaid garment workers, miners, service workers who are toiling in factories, in fields, in stores to make this girlhood aesthetic possible, to keep these wheels churning. The influencer, soft life, girlified aesthetic looks like silk pajamas, luxury loungewear, and perfectly curated outfits. The brands and these influencers, they preach this idea of girlhood and relaxation while wearing clothes from women who never get a day off. So the next time you see a TikTok haul of silk pajamas that are really made of plastic, pastel journals, pink tinted girlified skincare, remember that brands don't actually want you to achieve that soft life, that life of relaxation and self-care. They want you to keep chasing it. All of that so that you'll never have the time or desire to color outside the lines. If we want to reclaim girlhood, we need to decouple it from consumption and root it instead in community and in collective struggle. If your feminism is defined by having a bathroom filled with girly products, you'll keep defending celebrities and influencers and brands who sell this dream. Because if you question it, that means you're questioning the identity that you've been sold, and that's hard work to sit with the uncomfortable truth. Hard work. But again, these brands are selling feelings and you just want to feel good all the time. You don't want to feel uncomfortable. And that's the real danger of how brands exploit the idea of girlhood. As long as we're too busy chasing the next trend or the next haul or the next good vibe, the next aesthetic, we'll never have the time or energy to build a life that's not for sale. And breaking out of these shallow identities isn't easy when society rewards them. There was a time where on my channel years ago, I wasn't really experiencing the numbers that I wanted to be experiencing, the views, the following. And I briefly thought to myself, should I pivot? Should I be a lifestyle influencer? It would certainly be easier if I didn't have to do all of these highly researched, intellectualized videos. But then I said to myself, that's not who I am. That's not who I am as a person. I can't be complicit in that. I was born for far deeper. And you don't think that it would be easier for me to do that? If you don't think it would be easier for me to just get up here on this camera and be like, Sephora haul, get ready with me to go to Erewhon. Easier content. For sure, but a lot less rewarding. I see you guys' messages. I see you guys. I hear you guys. It means a lot to me that I can create something that can make you think, want you to be better, want you to do the reading, want you to do the work, want you to show up and channel your inner proletariat goddess, to desire to fight for collective liberation, to live a more ethical, sustainable life, all amazing things. I am so amazed and grateful for that. So it's not easy to break out of these very stereotypical, myopic, performative personas. There's not a lot of money in telling people to do the right thing. Women who don't conform to this consumption-driven mold are often stigmatized as being old, as being not fun, as being unfashionable. But when we center our values on who we are and not what we buy or how flawless we appear to be, we escape the shallow identity trap that girlhood marketing is selling us. So when every girl on social media has that headband or that hand sanitizer or that tumbler cup, that aesthetic, maybe the real question isn't why everyone's starting to look the same. Maybe the real question is why we're so afraid to be anything else and why we're so unwilling to fight for a different world. And that is all I've got, folks. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on how brands weaponize girlhood and exploit girlhood, especially given that their labor practices are usually the opposite of the femme-washed girlhood and female empowerment that they promote? I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you really liked it, then definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see what I'm up to outside of YouTube, you can follow me on my social media profiles down here, where I promise there's no girlified aesthetic. And you can also contribute to my Patreon for as little as $1.50 a month or $5 a month if you're feeling a little bit more generous. And that helps me to keep the lights on here and helps me to create content like this for you. And thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you all next time.